and there was supposed to be a tribal a tribal appreciation or some type of like acknowledgement ceremony for Roman with all the family there and stuff. But supposedly, I guess the two older Samoans weren't ready to travel, and one of the other Samoans was sick.
And Rikishi couldn't go, and
right.
And then we also heard the mom might be involved. So from whatever they had at the beginning, which probably would have been great, to this, they did a great job.
You know what they did? I guarantee you, somebody came up with an idea and they just changed their mind. And then everybody's like, "Wow, this is a lot better." And whatever this was, it drew a huge number because it did
was
like
very well done.
Okay, so let's get to this. So Hogan comes out with Jimmy Hart, and basically they introduced the crowd and mentioned the Eagles. What type of pop did he get, Joe? When he mentioned the Eagles.
Huge
pop,
enormous.
Not only that, but here's another thing. Did you notice that some people before he did the Eagles line were booing him?
Yeah. It was about 70-30.
And his mic was going out too.
His mic kept going out too. Yeah.
Wait, 70-30 booze cheers or cheers booze?
No, cheers
booze. Yeah.
Okay, so 30% booze.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so the bloodline all comes out with Sammy. So there's a table. Roman's at the head of the table. The Usos are on one side of the table. Sammy's in a chair on the left-hand side of the table, but scooted back away from the table, and Paul's sitting in the corner. So he does acknowledge me. Reigns does. He took a seat, and Sikoa remains standing there. Now ECW champ broke out, got a good pop, and it says Heyman acknowledged that.
Right.
So Heyman stood up and just went full heel here. He stood up and said, "Sammy is a betrayer who's been with Owens since day one." He accused Sammy of leading them on and making them feel good about themselves, but Heyman, dadgummit. Owens says that Heyman accused Sammy of leading them on, making them feel good about themselves, and Heyman worked in a jab at the Eagles fans and said they would be conquered by Brock Purdy of the 49ers, which of course led to boos. But if you notice, the Samoans put their fingers in the air. You know why?
Because they're the ones.
No. Huge Samoan fan base for the 49ers.
Yeah.
A lot of Samoan fans. Like when you go in the sports bars in Vegas on a Sunday, the Samoans are all got their Niners jerseys on. Like, that's a huge fan base for the Samoans. So Heyman stood up again and said, Heyman said he had 4 pieces of footage which shows Sammy was guilty. The first one he showed Drew attacking the Usos back in August while Sammy ran away. The next clip showed Zayn hesitating to hand a chair to Jey Uso on a Raw, which led to Jey being pinned by Owens. And Heyman's next clip showed Zayn sitting on top of the War Games cage and then doing a For Life symbol. Heyman's asked if they were the NWO, the Horse, and the Dangerous Alliance, and then accused Zayn of signaling Owens. The next clip was from December of Zayn bumping into Reigns during a promo segment and said that was assault on the tribal chief. And Heyman asked the jury to find this rat guilty as charged. And Heyman dropped the mic in front of Zayn, who held his head low, and Heyman grabbed another mic and said the prosecution rests his case. Zayn stood up with his mic in his hand. He said he had a whole defense all lined up and laid out in his head, but he didn't know how he would feel when he came out. He said that after listening to Heyman say all of that hurt so much, Zayn asked if Heyman really thought he was conspiring with Owens. Zayn said the fact that Heyman would actually think that really hurt. Zayn said the people see it. Zayn raised his voice while saying it hurt that they put him on trial and made him defend himself. My defense is that I have no defense, Zayn said before putting the mic down and taking a seat. Reigns asked Zayn if he had so much ego that he wasn't willing to fight or argue. Enough, Solo, Reigns yelled, and Sikoa walked over to Sammy and stood behind him like he's getting ready to give him a Samoan spike. Like he's going to execute him or something. It was like the image there. I don't know. It's kind of funny. And then Jey stepped up and grabbed his arm and prevented him from doing it. So Jey got a mic and told Reigns he didn't mean any disrespect, but he said he put together his own footage and asked for it to be shown. The first clip showed having Roman's entrance music play to help Jey beat Matt Riddle in a SmackDown match in June. Then the next clip was from August and showed Zayn shoving Reigns out of the way and taking a Claymore kick from Drew. The third clip was from September and showed Zayn shoving Sikoa out of the way and taking a chair shot from McIntyre. And another clip showed Zayn preventing Sheamus from breaking up a pin that one of the Usos got over on Butch. And the fifth was for the War Games match, which showed the finishing sequence with him and Owens. Jey said the footage showed Zayn taking bullets from him and the others, and Jey recalled despising Zayn and then credited him for sticking with him like family. He said he loved Zayn like a brother, and Jey said if you want Zayn in the bloodline, then throw your ones up in the sky. Jimmy joined Jey in throwing the fingers in the air, and the whole crowd was doing it too. Then Reigns stood up, a loud Sammy Uso chant broke out. And Joe, did you put your fingers in the air when you had to put the ones up?
I think I might have, yeah.
Yeah. As your tribal chief and the head of the table, I find you, Sami Zayn, not guilty, and the crowd popped you. What type of pop did he get on that?
Oh, enormous. Yeah, the
For
crowd
now.
they were way into that segment. Way
For now.
That's why I didn't understand when I asked you how was the show, and you go, "Oh, it's all right." This segment was great.
It started out tremendously. Yeah.
Yeah, Raymond told Zayn to look at Jay and thank him for buying him more time, and Reigns told Zayn to finish out the night and make the Bloodline proud. But they didn't want to see him again until Saturday at the Rumble, and he said that would be your final. Hello?
Yeah, we can see. Okay, all right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what'd you think?
Well, I thought that this was the only. I thought it was very well done. Great writing. Great manipulating people's emotions, not knowing what was going to happen next. They did a really good job of that. But this is what I thought was weird, because on SmackDown, Paulie told Rain he should have Sammy with him instead of pissing out of the castle, pissing in or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And then after Roman spoke to Sammy, he told them thank you. So I don't understand why he convinced Roman to change his mind to spare him, only to attack him vociferously. What a tremendous word for Latino on this thing here.
I tell you why. And this is where I'm getting out of this angle. Is that
they had to change the whole segment, right?
Well, not so sad. I think if you look at the rhetoric here, every time Owens gets over on them, they blame Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
That's been like the thing of this angle. Every single time Owens gets what they come in, they blame Sammy. That's been the shtick here.
Yeah, but why was he advocating for him on SmackDown? Then here he just turned
because he keeps talking his way out of it. He keeps explaining, I'm not with Sammy, that he keeps happening again, and he keeps blaming him.
Yeah, but why? That doesn't make sense. Why is he? But what was he telling to spare him, only to attack him?
I don't know. But I'm telling you this much: I would absolutely not be surprised if Sammy screws over Romans and him and Owens takes that belt on Saturday night.
Well, something's going to happen in Royal Rumble, because he kept saying, "I don't want to see you till Royal Rumble." So I think something's going to happen.
They're covering bases there with that, whatever that is. Yeah. Okay, so basically they go to the ring and wait a second. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Okay, so then they go to straight to a match where it's Jimmy and Jey Uso against Dominic and Damian Priest for the Raw Tag Team titles, and this was excellent selling again, because during the match he did a spot where Jimmy Uso looked like he hurt his leg,
right,
and I thought it looked like a shoot. And then they brought the trainers out and everything, but then they built this to the and this is where their quality control is very good. Is they did, because this was it was a title match, right? They did the spot where they decided to let Sammy take Jimmy's place because they were going to have to give up the titles. And Adam Pearce made a good point. He said, "I did this since we allowed this with Dom and Balor." Because remember, Balor got hurt and had to be taken out of the match.
And they had that tag team turmoil.
So everything made perfect sense here.
Right, okay, so great.
It was very fair, right? And basically, Sammy and Jay, they do his finishing sequence, and Sammy hit the 1D on them and cover and get the pin, and got a huge pop. So,
the first hour of Raw was commercial free. And which led to the first hour being one of the highest rated in like 3 years. Okay. And you can see Dom growing every week as a character and in the ring. And the last thing I want to say is, now this was the right call for Sammy to win, but I wouldn't have minded Sammy taking the pin and giving Roman a reason to be mad. You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe that's why I'm telling you where they could be going. There definitely has to be a swerve here at some point, because everything has kind of been going by the book a little bit, Bro,
so and you notice this is how over Zayn is. The first hour revolved around Zayn.
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, so JBL. Okay, so this did not make it to Hulu. JBL and Corbin were shown walking backstage, and they crossed paths with Godfather. JBL and Godfather hugged. Godfather asked JBL who he was with and checked his list and couldn't find Corbin's name on it. The JBL asked to speak to the owner of the establishment. Godfather knocked on the APA security door, and then Ron Simmons emerged from behind the door and hugged JBL, and Corbin gave Simmons and Godfather some cash to get in on a poker game. Godfather acted like he found Corbin's name on the list, but they walked through the door, and there was a poker room set up with various WWE wrestlers at the table. Oh boy, they're doing more poker. I wonder if these guys play a lot of poker on the road. I wonder why that's why they're doing this.
Back in the day, they did. I don't think.
I bet you they do now too. I wouldn't doubt that if they're doing this. I bet you they play a lot of poker. And the writers came in one day and said, "Hey, why don't we just do a gimmick here?"
No, I think that back in the day they used to do vignettes of them playing poker, so they wanted to bring that back. I don't think the boys play poker anymore.
All right, LA Knight's in the ring was introduced by Alicia Taylor, and I recall Bray Wyatt bringing back the Firefly Funhouse. Knight asked if he was supposed to be afraid of a grown man incel with spooky music and plays with puppets. Knight noted there were legends backstage, invited one of them to come out so they could give that person a preview of the Lights Out match, and no one came out, so Knight got cocky. The bell gonged, and the lights went out, and Undertaker came out in the motorcycles, the American Badass. Knight bowed out to ringside with his mic and called for Taker's music to be cut, and teased returning to the ring and told Taker he was going to give him a pass. Knight said he was going to let Taker live to see another day, and then encouraged Taker to watch the Pitch Black match, and the lights went out, and then Bray Wyatt's theme played. Then Bray Wyatt held up his lantern behind Knight, who got spooked and moved toward the ring. And Wyatt slowly walked toward the ring with his lantern in hand, and Knight opted to enter the ring to avoid Wyatt. And Taker grabbed Knight by the throat. Wyatt climbed on the apron, then Taker looked at him, and Wyatt entered the ring, and Taker shoved Knight to Wyatt, who put Knight down with his sister Abigail. Then Taker and Wyatt looked at one another, and the fans chanted, "Holy!" Then Taker approached Wyatt and spoke into his ear off mic, and this was like everybody's doing all memes about what he said. Then Taker left the ring and drove his motorcycle to the back. All of these segments are good when LA Knight's cutting promos. Like when LA Knight's not cutting the promos and Wyatt's coming out and doing.
However, was Bray Wyatt live, Joe?
I don't think anything spectacular, but he was the usual for him. Yeah.
All right. Let me just say this: I don't understand for the life of me why Undertaker didn't come out, because that's one of the most iconic and best entrances of all time, and has more in common with Bray Wyatt than the American Badass. Yeah. That really, I did not understand that.
Right.
LA Knight again shined, and I thought when he was going to choke slam him, I was like, really? You're going to have Undertaker come in here and Bigfoot Bray Wyatt? But they did the right thing here. This was great.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like I looked at the article you're reading, DI, and Jason Powell mentioned how LA Knight was close to getting released before, and what a comeback for him to go from that to they trust him now to do a segment with Undertaker, you know?
Oh, remember Konnan? Cool. Me and Konnan couldn't remember his name yesterday. He was Sean Ricker.
Yeah, Sean Ricker, right. That's
Sean
right.
Ricker,
yeah.
And then he was Eli Drake, and then he's it's been a million things, but But that's funny because Ricker was actually a pretty cool name.
Right.
Like, maybe call him Ricker, So Paige and Alundra Blaze were playing poker with Chad Gable, Otis, and Corbin, and Paige won, and Gargano and Loomis were shown, whatever, just to make it to Hulu. Then the cage lowered, and Damage Control made their entrance, and Bayley had the ring, and Becky made her entrance as she was going to the ring. Dakota Sky and Io Sky fought her, and Lynch was outnumbered. They ran her to the barricade on the side of the cage, and Kai had the chain from the cage door and had it around her fist, and she punched Lynch in the gut. Then they brought her in the ring and locked the door, and Pierce ran out and yelled at the heels, and Pierce was able to open the cage door using a bolt cutter, but the heels did their damage, and then Lynch was laid out in the middle of the ring. How did the crowd react to this, Joe?
It was a bummer. Nobody was happy with this. Yeah.
Right. Bro, and this is what I was going to say. They really want to put heat on Damage Control, but you could tell from the people's reaction, they care about them as much as I do, which is none. I don't know why they keep investing time and doubling down on them. They overreact. They're not that good. What I did like is that they went from the anti-formulaic Becky makes a comeback on all three to just a straight beatdown, which nobody expected. So I did like that.
Right. But they were expecting a cage match and just
and they didn't get it. I'm sure some people weren't happy about that, but now Becky's going to get her comeuppance at Rumble. That's the only thing I got out of this.
Okay, so the DX guys come out with Kurt and they're doing their shtick, and basically Angle was out there with them and they were wondering why he was there. It's all comedy. But then Imperium's music played and Triple H they stopped Triple H in their tracks. Gunther, Kaiser, Vinci made their entrance and joined the ring and said, "Shame on you for all that filth and nonsense," Kaiser said. Gunther scolded DX for making a mockery of the sport. Gunther said he's going to kick them out of our ring unless any one of you is going to do something about it. And Triple H stepped up and got in Gunther's face and said, "I'm retired, dude." Triple H said before backing down, and they all chickened out until Seth Rollins' music played. Okay, and so Seth Rollins came out, and the Street Profits came out, and they broke down. So that this was an Angle, and Teddy Long came out and made the match, and they set up a 6-man tag match for the heels. But I don't know. I thought all those guys backed down, and it was like 5-on-3. I would have like done some physical. I don't. Maybe they can, or I don't know. I just didn't. I thought this was a little bit flat. What did you think?
No, I thought it was really good. This was good. Yeah. Well, I just said that, right? So why are you saying?
Well, that doesn't mean it's a historical fact. So.
No, it means that it's my fact. That's good enough. So why would you ask me my opinion?
Was it your
if
truth?
You don't want to hear it if I don't agree with you.
Is it your
just do
truth?
The show? Yeah. Well, this was good because all the ex-superstars who wouldn't have done this a few years ago, probably because of their ego, backed down from Gunther, which makes him a badass, which is what you want to do. So they passed the torch also, and they all are old. They can't have a good match against these guys. And so maybe X-Pac, he looked in really good shape. But anyways, I thought Kurt was funny here. Makes Gunther look like a badass. Well, really all three of them. And Gunther held his own on the mic against these icons, which was good. It was good to see Teddy and Lawler back. I loved how Lawler was on commentary busting that guy Kevin Patrick's balls. I liked when Montez, Ford, and Dawkins applied the ankle lock at the same time in front of Angle. I liked when Rollins countered a power bomb into a pedigree, and I can't wait to see Rollins versus Gunther. I thought this was another good segment. I think every segment has been good except for the women, and usually that's the case.
Yeah, it was funny live, and we've said before on the show how the anniversary shows, they do a lot of the same returns and stuff. I think this was probably the best DX like usage of DX since the first time they came back. Every other one was like diminishing returns, but this was good.
Okay, so the poker party continued backstage, and Ted DiBiase and IRS was in there, and Ron Simmons, whatever. So, Bobby Lashley was interviewed by Kathy Kelly. That's why it was changed to a no disqualification match. And Lashley said Austin Theory can't keep his title by getting himself disqualified, and he can't be disqualified for what he would do to Theory. MVP entered the picture and pumped up Lashley about winning the title, and MVP said Lashley could celebrate his win in the VIP lounge. And Lashley said he didn't need the help of MVP or Omos to become number one contender, and he told MVP to let him handle his business during his title match. Then Flair came. None of this made it Hulu, by the way. Ric Flair came out and delivered a promo and said they were celebrating 30 years of making history, and he said the fans keep the Nature Boy styled and profiling. He said the greatest gift that WWE has given is the opportunity to watch his daughter exceed all of his goals, and Flair said he was honored as a father, wrestler, and a man to introduce a special guest, and he introduced Charlotte Flair as the greatest women's champion in WWE. So, bro, this didn't make it to Hulu either, even though it made it to Hulu on SmackDown. But I guess Charlotte came out and had another. So wait. Charlotte said they started revolutionize women's wrestling on Raw. And she said she evolved from a diva to being 14-time women's champion. She said she did all while facing like Ronda Rousey, the Bellas, Asuka, Rhea Ripley. Charlotte says because of that she'll be able to call herself the most decorated women's athlete. She said she's the SmackDown Women's Champion, but Raw will always be her home. So Bianca Belair made her entrance and joined Flair inside the ring and said Raw is her show and she does everything can to make sure it's the greatest show on television. Sonya came out and DeVille walked out and spoke about what a historic night is, and she asked if it was really necessary for Charlotte to have her daddy give her a big introduction for a show that she's not even wanted on. DeVille called Belair delusional and then said she deserves credit for being the Raw general manager for over a year. Then Flair said she owes DeVille for the cheap shot she gave her, but she said Belair has been killing it and suggested that she could handle this. And Belair said it would be her pleasure. And she invited DeVille to have a match, and Belair beat her in 8 minutes. After the match, Belair took the mic and said her match with DeVille was a preview of what she would do to Alexa Bliss. And Belair said she could bring Uncle Howdy, Bray Wyatt, or the Playhouse Funhouse. She said it wouldn't matter because she would still be the Raw Women's Champion. And Alexa appeared on the big screen and told Belair that she would be her only obstacle. The camera pulled back and showed that Bliss was looking into a mirror while she spoke. And Bliss looked into the camera and said she would spare Belair's eyes so that she could watch her walk out of the Rumble with the championship. What do you think about this whole segment?
Well, I just think DeVille is really underrated because she's good in the ring, good on the mic, good at getting heat. I didn't know she was a former MMA fighter. I read this like today. But Charlotte Flair, she looks a little bit like Cher. I don't know if you see this, the likeness. Did you see, bro? Joe, show Disco what Ric Flair was wearing?
Hang on a second.
I don't know. I don't understand. They're trying to make DeVille this formidable opponent for Flair, for Charlotte.
Well, she's not bad on the mic.
I know she's good on the mic.
Right.
Look at this outfit,
Oh
dude.
my God.
Bro, let me just say this. Brick, you're a super icon and much respect, but you don't wear that well. It looks like somebody vomited lemonade and black licorice on your jacket. That's brutal.
No, he probably's been watching Seth Rollins on TV and says, "Hey, I like that guy's style." So
I'm going to try to outdo him.
Let me try to wear like a Seth Rollins suit. This is Ric Flair trying to be like edgy to the kids these days, right?
That's brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think Bianca was a little sloppy here in this match, and this match meant nothing. I bet you the fans weren't into this, Joe. Were they?
No, they would have rather seen Charlotte, for sure. Yeah.
Right. So they did another package of Cody Rhodes. These are excellent, by the way. And they're obviously have big things planned for him because you can tell he put a lot of time into this package. But I would go out of my way to watch it. It's one of the better produced videos they've done in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So the Miz stood in the ring in a suit and asked where was Miz TV, his championship match and a celebration. The crowd started to cheer while Miz said he deserves a Raw 30 moment. Then Owens comes to the ring and stuns him. He picked up the mic and addressed Reigns, and Owens said Reigns may have said that Sami Zayn is not guilty, but Reigns is guilty of holding the WWE Universal title for over 2 years. Owens gave his word to everyone in the building and watching at home that he would do everything he could to take the title and give everyone a champion they can be proud of. Owens said he would just keep fighting until he has nothing left, and Owens said he would take the title from Reigns or die trying, and Owens dropped the mic. Miz got to his feet, and can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. You were gone for a couple seconds.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Owens gave us basically Owens gave a stunner and cut a promo, and that was it. Any comment?
No, it was just a good little segment. It was short.
So next, Austin Theory against Bobby Lashley. And basically, it's a no DQ match. So about with a minute left in the match, Brock comes down, enters the ring, performed the F5 on Lashley, and put Austin Theory on top of him. And Austin Theory beats Bobby Lashley in 14 minutes. So I'm assuming they're going to. So Lesnar's fighting Lashley at WrestleMania, and I'm assuming they're going to do the heel baby switch on this thing, where the MVP is going to be. I imagine they're probably going to get the Hurt Business back together. Maybe make them baby faces. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks like it because there's a lot of interaction between him and Lashley lately.
Right.
This is good. I like the surprise thing with Brock. He got a big pop. It
was a pop like for Brock, Joe.
Oh, huge because it wasn't advertised or anything. So that was people were happy to see that surprise.
Yeah, I like how as Almighty put Theory through a table, then the Beast came in, hit Lashley with an F5. Then he dropped Theory on top of him so he could get the cover. This was good. This was a good show all the way around, except for the women's stuff, which is usually the case.
So that was Raw. By the way, I want to make a point. It's funny that we always, like Russo specifically, like me and him are definitely in the philosophy of like that the wrestling shows these days have too much wrestling on them, and like the matches are like.
I would agree.
This was one of their highest rated shows. There was 4 matches in 3 hours.
Right.
It just shows if you put on good entertainment, it doesn't have to be a match. People will tune in, and the show had some good.
And the matches don't have to be long either.
Right. They don't. So. Yeah,
save that for the pay-per-view.
Right, exactly. But this is a pretty good show, I thought.
Yeah, me too. Joe thought it was all right.
Yeah, I think I got my hopes up for like an Austin or a Rock or something like that, and maybe that's why I was a little let down. I just expected something bigger for starting to set up Mania or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.